Hey YouTube, Film Geek here, and welcome to the end of Weird Movie Week. Now, this isn't necessarily my top 10 favorites. I do like all these movies, but I'm ranking them not necessarily in the order I like them. I'm ranking them in the order in which I think they're weirdest. What is my number 10 then? Number 10 on my weirdest movies list is 2008's Franklin.
This is true. By the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. The only thing I believe is that my name is Jonathan Priest, and tonight, I'm gonna kill a man.
Franklin is directed by Gerald McMorrow and is starring Eva Green, Ryan Philippe, Sam Riley, and Bernard Hill. Franklin is an anthology film that follows 4 separate stories. First story is about this street vigilante, and it's in this really cool steampunk kind of world. The art design in this story is really great. The costumes and everything are just awesome. And the story itself is really cool. The second story is about a performance artist that commits suicide once a month and films it, and that's her art. She's also struggling with a relationship with her mother and dealing with the loss of her father. Third story is a very simple story about a father who is looking for his adult son. And then the fourth story of a man who gets stood up at the altar and decides to seek out his old childhood crush. So why does this movie make the list? Well, again, like I said, it's an anthology story, and really as it unfolds, you understand why this movie is on the weirdest movies list. It's not super weird, but like I said, when you get to the climax of the film, you totally get it, and that's why I don't want to really explain why this movie's weird, because it really would ruin it for you as a viewer. That's Franklin from 2008. Right now, if you want to check this movie out, it is on Tubi TV, as pretty much every movie I ever mention on this channel. Number 9 is a heartwarming tale about a 10-year-old boy who's sent to spend a summer with his uncle. Okay, now that sounds like a fairly normal, heartwarming family story, right? But why in God's green earth would I put such a wonderful childhood tale on this list as a weird movie? Well, that's because that's 1994's Clifford.
See, when you are looking at the baseball, look at it. Hit it, keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on the ball. Like that.
Tricky to remember all the facts.
Okay, Clifford's a weird movie. Yeah, you know why it's a weird movie? Because that 10-year-old boy is played by a 40-year-old Martin Short. Yeah, he was 40. Alright, so yes, this story is a very typical family fun film, but because it doesn't have an actual child playing the child, it really throws this movie into absolute weird-ass movie comedy. Because it's not like they really tried to hide the fact that Martin Short was a 40-year-old man when he made this movie. They didn't try to do makeup on him, they didn't try to make him look younger. They just left him as Martin Short. Martin Short's not a real tall man either, so they just kind of had him crunch down a little bit or have him stand back further. Ugh, it's just weird. I'm not saying this movie's bad. I actually kind of laugh a lot at this film because of just the weirdness of Martin Short playing a kid. This movie is also starring Charles Grodin, who again is well known for playing those goofball family comedies. I mean, you know him from Beethoven. This is Beethoven, but with a 40-year-old man and not a dog. If you're curious about Clifford and you want to check this out, it's 1994, Clifford, and right now you can find it on HBO Max if you're a subscriber. Now that brings us to number 8. My number 8 weirdest movie that I like is Phantasm. Phantasm is directed by Don Casarelli, starring A. Michael Baldwin, Bill Thornberry, and Reggie Bannister. Phantasm is one of my favorite horror franchises, and I will probably do a favorite horror franchises. I might do something like around Halloween or something like that, because it's completely original, and nobody spends the entire month of October talking about Halloween movies. No one's ever done it. Alright, so check this out. Why is it weird? Phantasm is about a dimensional alien who decides to hang out in a small town as his local mortician. He then he murders people that live in the town, and when they come to his funeral home, he then turns their dead bodies into these weird undead little things. Phantasm Jawa? Hooded guys, they're about this tall, like weird movies, and you like horror movies, and you've never seen Phantasm, then you really owe it to yourself to check this movie out. I mean, really you do. The movie itself is a lot of fun. It's a really good horror movie. It is a very ambiguous kind of film, a little bit on the surreal side. You never really know what's going on, honestly. You don't know if you're in reality, you don't know if you're in a dream world, and it really even leaves you wondering at the end of the film exactly what the hell you just watched. You like weird, you like horror, and you have not seen Phantasm, definitely check it out. You owe it to yourself. It's a great movie. Right now you can find it on, again, Tubi TV. Number 7 is also by the same director, and that is John Dies at the End.
Shelley. John and I are having a bit of a problem here. We're both seeing completely different versions of you. Now, John here has eyesight problems because of his constant masturbation, but I don't think...
John Dies at the End is a 2012 film that's also directed by Don Coscarelli, starring Chase Williamson and Rob Mays. Using a drug known as soy sauce, they have the ability to do all sorts of crazy things with their mind, which also allows them to see other beings that come from a different dimension. So this allows them, almost like in the movie They Live, where they can see things different than everybody else. They can see these dimensional creatures that cross over into our world, and they have to fight them. They kind of come off as ghosts, but they're actually interdimensional travelers. Okay, so if Phantasm was weird, then obviously a movie that tells you how it ends, like John Dies at the End, you're gonna expect the movie to be really strange. This also falls into the realm of horror, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really find it too awful horror. I did find it gory, but I didn't really find it too awful scary or anything. It really is something to behold. There's so many things in this movie that are crazy. There's an entire demon possession monster thing that's just a big stack of meat that they have to fight. They end up in this extremely crazy alternate dimension. I mean, this film is really, man, I hate saying this because it's just a weird movies list, but this movie's just weird. If you're in the mood for a very strange horror movie, then check out John Dies at the End. Right now, John Dies at the End is streaming on our good friends at Tubi TV. Number 6, I'm going to dive more into the artsy-fartsy, weird kind of movies, and that is 2006, The Fountain.
Don't worry. We're almost there. Through that last dark cloud is a dying star. And soon enough, Shabbat will die.
The Fountain is directed by Darren Aronofsky, and it's starring Hugh Jackman. Okay, to sum up this film in just as easy as I possibly can, the movie The Fountain is about one man's journey to save the life of the woman he loves. And this story is told throughout different periods of time. It doesn't ever really tell you if he's like traveling through time or if Hugh Jackman's character is some kind of weird immortal. You just follow these separate stories about Hugh Jackman's character in different time periods, and each time period he's just trying to save the woman he loves. All comes to this future moment where Hugh Jackman is reaching nirvana in the cosmos, where I guess the universe is collapsing and he's the last remaining person. Or, I mean, this movie, it's one of those films that there's a lot of interpretation and all, and I don't have enough time to go into all of the details. But I will say that this is one of those movies that make you think. You gotta watch it a couple times to really take everything in. But it is an enjoyable watch. It's not something that's gonna bore you. It seems like it's slow moving, but I mean, things happen so much and there's so much going on really that the film doesn't ever come off as slow in my mind. The cinematography is really great. They had a shoestring budget and they didn't use any kind of CGI in some of the more special effecty moments. They used a lot of camera trickery and practical effects, and man, it just looks amazing. Look at this movie as just like moving artwork, because that's kind of what it is. It's not as much of the story, it's more of the visual effect and how the movie just looks, and it's just beautiful. Check it out, 2006, The Fountain. Number 5 is something I don't do very often, and that is talk about a movie that just recently came out, and that is 2019's The Lighthouse.
You're fond of me lobster, ain't you?
Drunken in a Virginia fence.
I seen it. You're fond of me lobster. Say it. Say it. Say it.
I don't have to say nothing.
Danny! Let Neptune strike ye dead, Winslow.
The Lighthouse is starring Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, directed by Robert Eggers. The first thing a lot of people say about this movie is, oh, Robert Pattinson, he's that guy from Twilight. Meh. Don't do that. Guy is a great actor. He really is. Stop comparing him to this Twilight thing. It's not fair. You know, everybody needs to eat, okay? Everybody needs to make money. And honestly, those films, even though they weren't all that great, and I'm not gonna go into how much I dislike them, whatever. But anyways, this performance is outstanding. He holds his own against Willem Dafoe, one of the greatest character actors that you're gonna come across, and he really holds his own in this movie. It is crazy awesome to see these two performing. It's like they just keep trying to outdo each other in everything that's going on. The movie itself is, again, an extremely beautifully shot film. It's filmed in black and white, which really adds to just the way this movie makes you feel. It makes you feel claustrophobic, even though, you know, you spend most of the time inside this little lighthouse, and it's just, you feel closed in, and it's dark and dingy, and it just puts you in that isolation kind of feeling. All you have are these two people talking to each other for an entire movie, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat through the whole thing. Two lighthouse caretakers go to a lighthouse. One, Willem Dafoe, is the more seasoned lighthouse keeper. He's been there for quite some time, and Robert Pattinson plays the new kid. During a storm, they get stuck on the island a lot longer than they're supposed to be. It almost seems like they're forgotten by the inland. And they stay there and they go bonkers. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. It is just bonkers. This movie has just an intense emotion about it from beginning to end. You just feel uncomfortable the entire time. This is a fabulous horror film for people who are more into the cerebral, psychological kind of horror. And this is right up your alley. Seriously, check it out. 2019's The Lighthouse. I can't talk enough about this movie. That brings us to number 4. Number 4 on the weird movie list is A Scanner Darkly.
This toxic and most terrible substance. Nonetheless, the reason I am here is I feel that I may have certain qualities that would qualify me to perhaps come over to your side to surrender and come to the side of law enforcement in general. I would like an employment application.
All right, we don't care why you're here. We only care whether your evidence and material amount to anything.
A Scanner Darkly is a 2006 film starring Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Robert Downey Jr. Scanner Darkly is the story of an undercover cop played by Keanu Reeves who was undercover in this drug ring, and while he's undercover starts to lose his own identity and gets caught up in the entire crazy world. Why is Scanner Darkly on this list? Well, mostly because of the way they filmed it. They filmed the movie and then went back and animated over the actors and all. it allowed them to do some different types of unique special effects. So it was a really cool choice. However, I don't think a lot of people really dug it, but I mean, I like it. I think that it's a cool movie. There's some really fun performances from people. It's neat to see these actors in a very strange and unique film. So check it out. It's 2006, A Scanner Darkly. And right now you can check out A Scanner Darkly on Vudu for free with commercials. Number 3 on my list of weird movies is from director Terry Gilliam, and that's Brazil.
Well, have you got a 27B/6?
No, the sash. All right, son. It's all right. It's all right.
Sorry, I'm a bit of a stickler for paperwork, you see. I mean, where would we be if we didn't stick to the correct procedures?
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Brazil is a story of a bureaucrat in a very 1984-esque kind of world who becomes an enemy of the state as he pursues his true love. It was directed by Terry Gilliam. As I've mentioned before, I absolutely love Terry Gilliam's films, and this one is no exception. Now this one is, in my opinion, one of the weirdest movies that he's made. It has so much to it. This isn't just a lighthearted film, it has a lot of social commentary. This is not just one of those goofball comedies with just some funny, weird stuff that happens. Now, this one's got a lot of stuff behind it. It's got a lot of deeper meaning. So if you like movies that have a lot more underneath it than just what's on the surface, then I highly recommend this one. That is 1995's Brazil, directed by Terry Gilliam. Number 2 is a movie that a lot of people really do not like, and that is Southland Tales.
They called him Ronald Taverner, and he was their pawn in a dangerous game of political extortion.
Southland Tales is directed by Richard Kelly, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Sean William Scott. The story of Southland Tales follows the end of the world in some kind of alternate dimension. Just their reality is just breaking apart, which is causing all sorts of weird shifts in time and dimension, and there's all sorts of strange stuff happening all over the place. It's just a messed up movie. Really hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie. This movie bounces around a lot. There's a lot of crap that's going on. You don't know what's real or not. And really, it just kind of unfolds to the end of the entire universe. It's just about the last few days of this weird alternate dimension. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the director's previous work. He is the director of Donnie Darko. Like Donnie Darko and you would like to see something else by Richard Kelly, I recommend Southland Tales. Check it out. Okay, so this brings us to the number 1 weirdest movie that I've either seen or could think of or like, but let me just say, this is probably a movie that should be on everybody's weirdest movie number 1 list, and that is Forbidden Zone.
What do you think you're pulling here?
I was just only looking at her.
Oh, yeah? Listen, Buster, look, it's dangerous. Next thing you know, you're going to be sucking on her mango.
My, aren't you a jealous one?
Forbidden Zone came out in 1982. It is directed by Richard Elfman. If the name Elfman sounds familiar to you, you might know his brother, Danny Elfman. You know, the guy who does all the soundtracks for Tim Burton. Also the lead singer of Oingo Boingo. Yep, that guy. That's the guy. This is his brother. He made this movie, and it's nuts. What's the story of Forbidden Zone? I don't know if you can really call it a story. Okay, if you read the description of the film, it says it's about a young girl who, I don't know, she doesn't look so young to me, but a young girl that falls into an alternate dimension that just so happens to be in her parents' basement, and she travels to the Forbidden Zone, and then she tries to get out of the Forbidden Zone. That's it. I mean, I think that's the story. I'm not sure about that, but that's what the description said. I don't know if that's what I saw or not. Okay, so this thing is just strange from beginning to end. It is the definition of a weird movie. And I'm pretty sure it falls into some kind of art, surrealist kind of thing. Sure, somebody could tell me there's some deeper meaning to all of this, but honestly, I just laughed my butt off at it the entire time because it just, everything just bonkers happens in this movie. It's Every corner it turns, it's weirder. It just keeps trying to outdo itself. It's like a whole scene is shot, and then the next scene says, hold my beer, man, check this out. If you're a lover of just weird, strange films, this is a movie for you. Check it out. And that is 1982's Forbidden Zone. Okay guys, that brings us to the end of not just another Film Geek video, but it also brings us to the end of my week of weird movies. I just like to see creativity and something a little different every now and then. So whether it's a weird horror movie, whether it's a weird comedy, I'm always right there in line, ready to check it out. So hey guys, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here, please hit the like button, go ahead and subscribe, and like I say guys, keep watching movies, because you know I'm gonna.